Bear.
Bear? Yeah, okay. So you hear any
As he
dog
was known.
barking, it's Bear.
Yeah,
It's a bear dog. So
it's a
welcome to
bear.
the Lock and Load Show. You Glock, you rock. And it's been an interesting week. Let's see. We had a really great pre-chat, and I wish you guys could have listened to the pre-chat because that was really good. Um, so let's see what's happening. Somebody passed some is trying to pass some gun control law to ban rapid fire ammunition. Now, I just don't know what rapid fire ammunition is, but I guess they want to ban it. Okay. It's like in Hawaii they passed or they put forward that law. It was so funny.
I say
For
let them
banning
ban it. It's not going to make any difference.
multi-burst trigger activators. I mean, I don't know what one of those is either, but they have passed a law to ban multi-burst trigger activators, and then they had to define what it was because there is no such thing. They could ban lightsabers, and nobody's actually invented one that works. So, I mean, I would love to have a lightsaber, but I'd also love to have a multi-burst trigger activator, but I don't even know what that is, and apparently nobody else does.
Hell, I'd like
So,
to have rapid fire ammunition.
as soon as they invent it, it'll be pre-banned before they invent it. Oh yeah, here's something else Hawaii wants to ban. I'm screwed. We talked about this a little in the pre-chat. Wait a minute. That's something. I have this really cool Wraith knife that I want to buy that I'm not going to, but I'll screen share that one. We talked about this knife a little. It's really cool, but it's expensive. Dawson knives make really good knives, and this knife is just badass. It looks like something when I used to do World of Warcraft, my rogue had something that looked like this. And it just comes with a really cool cryptic camo sheath, but it's too expensive right now. I don't want to spend this kind of money on a knife, but it's fucking rocks. And it's on sale, but it's still too expensive. So, anyway, right. So here's what they're going to ban in Hawaii. They want to ban plastic. Plastic bags are already banned, but they want to ban plastic sporks, plastic forks, plastic spoons, plastic food trays, plastic cups, straws, bottles, and where's it? Yeah, here it is. So basically, by 2023, the styrofoam, all this stuff is going to be banned if this law passes. So here's how I feel about this particular ban: is that they will have to pry these straws from my cold dead hands. You're not getting hold of my straws. I'll be the guy like on the corner selling straws, for $10 a straw or 9 bags of straws or whatever. 10 straws for $100 or something like that.
I can see the headlines now. Local Oklahoma man arrested for smuggling straws into Hawaii. Hawaii, you're gonna call me up one day and be like, dude, I need some straws. I'm out of straws. Can you mail me some? Yeah, man, I'll get you hooked up. Get on Amazon, buy like a
I need
box
a
of
high
1,000
capacity
straws.
straw. Okay, we were talking about Oklahoma, the Oklahoma constitutional carry, and there's a few other states that have gotten constitutional carry. Just in the last, so freedom is taking flight across our nation, in spite of the fact that they keep introducing gun control laws for things that don't exist. And so, how's it? Your constitutional carry law goes into effect in November. You were saying in Oklahoma?
November 1. It will go into effect. Usually, that's about when all laws take effect. Is November 1st. Anytime, like here it is, February. Well, it's March now, but
not only do I have to, if I didn't text you, you wouldn't know what day it is, but you're confused on the months too.
Well, when this got started, it was all started back in February.
I need to buy you a calendar.
I've got some. I just, I do need to change my calendar over to the next month. But anyways, when this got started in February, it was just recently, a couple of days ago, the governor signed it and approved it. Uh, so anything, it may be different in other states, I'm not sure, but here in Oklahoma, we have to wait until November 1st until everything goes into effect. So as of right now, you still have to have a permit to carry a weapon, a firearms, a weapons carry permit to carry a firearm in the state of Oklahoma. Um, and as of November 1st, you will not have to renew your weapons carry permit or have to go through a concealed carry class or weapons carry class. And the reason I say weapons carry, because Oklahoma no longer has a concealed carry law. A few years ago, they passed to where you can do open carry. So they changed the name of it from concealed carry license to weapons carry permit, or concealed carry permit to weapons carry permit. So you can, as long as you have a weapons carry permit, you can carry open and concealed. But all that's gone now. All you have to do is, if you can pass a background check to buy a gun, chances are you're going to be able to carry. But in Oklahoma, another thing is, if Hawaii decided to come up here and visit me and he saw a gun that I had and he liked and he wanted to buy it off of me, all I had to do was hand him the gun and take the money. There's no regulations.
Can't I pay you in Bitcoin?
Yeah, no.
You don't want Bitcoin?
No,
okay.
No. I like
Arizona,
I like
Arizona,
the physical stuff.
Well, why people think a piece of paper with some numbers on it and a portrait of some guy that's been dead for 200 years is worth something is beyond me. But Arizona, they take Bitcoin. You can pay your state tax in Bitcoin. But anyway,
that's awesome.
Do you feel more free now that that law has passed, or are you going to have to wait till November before you start to feel a little more free?
It's good. It's good. I'm kind of 50-50. It's good that they are allowing us to carry a firearm without a permit, because that's a right that we shouldn't have to pay for. As we mentioned in pre-chat, that's something that should not have been something we had to pay for. However, I disagree with it to some extents. Just simply because of the fact that now you don't have to take a weapons carry class. You don't have to go to a carry class to do any of this. And weapons carry class teaches you a lot. For those that don't know the basics of gun safety, it will teach you everything about gun safety. Muzzle control. When you're handing it off to somebody, or
the three rules that I always say are: all guns are always loaded. Always never point your weapon at the muzzle at anything that you're not prepared to destroy, making certain of your target and what's behind it. And the third one is never touch the damn trigger until you're ready to fire and destroy your target. And if you do those three things, you'll never have a negligent discharge. You'll never accidentally shoot anybody. And that would really suck if you're, if I'm going to shoot somebody, it's because I intended to do so. And so far, I've never intended to shoot anybody, no matter how much they may have asked for it.
Right. But I still think that there should be some kind of even if it's right now in Oklahoma you have to pay $50 to take a weapons carry class to go to class, to qualify for your permit. Even if they did like a $20 or $25 class where they teach you gun safety, then that's cool. I'd stand behind that 100%. Even if they did it free, I don't care. As long as people, the only thing I'm worried about is there's a lot of stupid people out there. I think we can all agree with that.
You can't legislate anything. You can't fix stupid, and you can't legislate against it.
Can't. But you can sedate it. It's a medical thing
out
there.
EMS thing. Sedated. Okay. Before we get too far on that, I just wanted to read this. South I don't know how current this is, but I went to the Firearms Policy Coalition site. It's South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem signed Senate Bill 47, proposed by Senator Greenfield, did away with South Dakota's requirement for a concealed carry permit, instituting constitutional carry in the state. According to Argus Leader, I guess a newspaper, Governor Kristi Noem fulfilled one of her campaign promises on Thursday by signing the bill repealing the requirement into law. She said she was proud that it was the first bill she signed as governor. The bill was supported by the Firearms Policy Coalition, urged supporters to write the governor using FPC take action tools ask for signatures. So South Dakota is going to be a free state soon too. So it's freedom is taking flight and spreading across our nation. And it's not that what you said. It's not that they allow. It's like the people allow the government to pass regulations that they have to obey. The government doesn't allow the people. I mean, the people are the masters and the government is the servant. That's how it's supposed to be. In some states, it's just twisted around backwards because politics.
Right. And it's pretty much that way nationwide here in the U.S. But as far as, I don't know how this is going to play out. I think there's going to be some more gun-related incidents, but then again, there are gun-related incidents now, and people are trained and qualified. I don't want to go so far as saying trained, but they went through the class. They went through the concealed carry class, so they have some kind of knowledge as to how to work with a firearm. But there was I don't remember where it was. There was this little news break on Facebook earlier that someone had shot himself in the genitals with his pistol, and it was by accident. And here's another thing, and this is going to prove my point even more, is that the individual who was licensed to carry with a permit, licensed to carry concealed, had his firearm in his waistband. He did not have it in a holster. He felt it slipping down out of his belt. So he went to reach, kind of move it back up into his belt, and it discharged, hitting him in the groin area.
Ouch.
Ouch. Yeah. And it was a high point. It was a high point 9, which it really doesn't matter what kind of gun you have.
Third high point joke here. Anyway, I just wanted to, I'm screen sharing this and presenting it. This is a cartoon Billy Barron drew, I think, a couple days ago. He's a friend of my family. He's like he's a political cartoonist. He's like 97, 98 years old. He's a really cool guy, and he does political cartoons professionally, although, I mean, he's 97 or 98, so he just draws what he likes. So this was his little political cartoon. I hope you guys like it.
And that proves a valid point right there. That cartoon right there proves a valid point. It doesn't matter. You can ban guns all you want. There's still going to be crime. There's still going to be somebody breaking and entering. There's still going to be murders. But it's just, a lot of people, they think that because guns are out of the picture now, you can't. Now,
UK, it's all about knife violence now.
Right.
And in Oklahoma, I assume that a lot of people know how to use or do archery, especially in the Native American community.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not. Let's talk about as far as archery goes, real quick. The state, the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation District, or ODWC, recently in the last few years, opened archery up to more than just a bow and arrow. Now we can have, because before it was just a compound bow or a long bow and a crossbow. Now we can actually use an atlatl and darts. We can use a blowgun. We can use a rabbit stick and other primitive means of hunting.
A longbow, that's. I mean, longbows. I mean,
I didn't mean longbow. I meant recurve.
yeah, okay.
But yeah, they added the longbow as well. So
Well,
those
that is
ancient,
archery. You use a
yeah,
longbow.
well, those ancient methods, not just archery, but the atlatl and darts
Hmm.
and the blowgun and the rabbit stick, all that is now legal means of take in Oklahoma. So you made a valid point. Uh, everybody would know how to hunt considering they're native. A lot of people really don't. I mean,
Yeah,
of
people have
course, you're
lost
gonna,
touch. People have lost
yeah,
touch with their heritage, which is sad because
and
I
and
mean,
that's part of what the program is for them. And since they opened up a legal hunt with atlat on dart, that makes me want to get an atlat on darts and learn how to use an atlatl. So,
well, you know what's
uh,
interesting about when I was studying about Comanche history is that they used to have when kids were growing up and they were learning how to do archery. They would have a game with they would throw a hoop in the air and the kids would try and shoot the arrow through the hoop when it was flying through the air, and that proved useful skill later in life.
yeah,
uh, but I understand that culture has changed and people lose touch, and the languages are disappearing. When the language just dies, the culture dies with it. But anyway, that's way in the weeds. This is a cool cartoon that Billy Barron drew up. So thank you, Billy. He's just really cool. Like I said, 90. I think he's 98 now. He's getting up there, but he still gets around. I guess we all Father Time is undefeated, but he's doing a really good job.
yeah.
Make it that
That's
far.
that's that's really impressive for someone that old to be able to still pull stuff off like that. It's really impressive.
Yeah, he's an incredible artist. I want to say hello to Squib. You just made it in.
Yeah, I see that, Squib. Welcome.
He's
I
busy.
can't get to the mute button.
You can't get to the mute button.
Yeah,
How you
just
doing?
clocked out. Oh man, I've had a hell of a night. You remember those days where you'd go into work and 5 minutes in you go, "Why did I show up today?"
Yeah,
Yeah, it's one of those.
The answer was money, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't. It's not. I mean, it's money, yeah, but I think about my family and I just press forward. So, yeah, it's just been a bad night. I would have tried to jump in earlier, but I just had too many
We had a fun
irons in the
pre-chat.
fire.
Too many knives in the fire.
Too many irons in the fire.
Irons.
Irons.
We had a great
Here I'm in my
pre-chat.
truck.
So you're driving home?
We'll be soon.
All right, man. Drive safe. Let's see. What else did we talk about in the pre-chat?
we talked about everything.
Right. I'm trying to remember. Let's see.
I'll say from now on we have like a 5-minute pre-chat and go straight to live.
Well, I know, but we usually try and start on time, but
Yeah,
5 minutes late anyway, but whatever. I just need to have a notepad to write down what the hell we were talking about.
I know, right?
Let's see. We talked about bugging in and bugging out. I mean, fabulous prepper thing. And basically what I was saying, I think, was that, I mean, you have to have lived here and you have to know your areas and that for bugging out. And you have to have multiple locations, alternates. Like you have one area for where you're planning on bugging out. Then you have to have multiple locations. If the first location is not going to work for any number of reasons, then you have to have a backup nearby that'll work for you. And we talked about there being no such thing as private property if the shit hits the fan and there's no rule of law. Which can be good and bad, but it is what it is.
We figured the only private property there would determine private property would be the amount of ammunition you have in the amount of defenders of your property you have. That would be pretty much the only thing to determine your private property.
Yeah, nobody's going to be looking on the county tax map to see where your property starts and ends.
Yeah.
It'll be something else that determines that.
Yeah.
And let's see. We did talk about the homeless problem in San Francisco, and I had some bunch of pictures on how bad it was. And I know if Squib could see all these pictures, he'd start ranting and raving. But let's see. So I'll show some pictures, and if he watches them before he gets in his car, then he can have something to talk about on the way drive over. Let's see.
I'll try to look over at my phone at red lights.
All right.
I'm getting as far away from that place as I can, putting as much distance between me and work.
He's like, to hell with that place. Let it burn down.
Uh-huh.
One of those days. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Right. Okay. Where's the screen share button? So many pictures out. Here we go. All right. So I'm going to screen share some San Francisco pictures of homeless camps. Here's one. It looks like it's outside of a bus station in San Francisco.
Sheesh. Don't they have shelters for them out there that they provide, or don't they have some sort of law that allows them to be able to stay in public buildings or some weird crap like that?
Well, no. And actually, here's a camp. They're rounding up. They're seizing all the. They're banning the tents or something. So basically, they're taking away the tents from the homeless people or something because it's pretty bad. Let's see. I didn't know there was a place. I didn't know there was a homeless encampment called Google Town or something because it's right by Google headquarters or something in San Francisco. But it's just,
Shit like that's getting bad when they did that to the fire. I can't remember what the name of that fire was here recently in the last few months. That wildfire that went through California, and everybody didn't have a place to go, so they kind of camped out at Walmart parking lot. They started, kicking people off, and it's pretty crappy that they're doing that. Not just for homeless, not just for these guys that lost everything in their fires, but also for the homeless. Some of them have nothing. What little they have left, they're trying to take it away from them.
During the Malibu fire.
Okay, but Oklahoma, you understand that homeless people are homeless by choice. Nobody put a gun to their head and said, live like this. They made bad choices in life. They kept making bad choices in life, and they'd rather live like this than do the right thing.
Yeah, these people don't want to go to shelters. They don't want to go to shelters.
No, they don't want to. They don't want to get cleaned up. They don't want to be responsible. They don't want to be law-abiding, and they don't want to get a job.
Right, but there are also those few out of every. I think I figured maybe 10% of everybody that's homeless is homeless because it's because of psychological issues. So they're not on their meds. And I was telling him earlier, I said some of these people probably have nice houses and a beautiful family and beautiful homes and a life, but just because they're not on their medication, they don't know that. You know what I'm saying? There's a mental disorder in there that blocks all that out. Whether it be anything from schizophrenia to split personality disorder, and that's where either way, I agree. There's a lot of those people that are making that choice and that don't want to live in a house, and they'd rather live on the streets and beg for money. But at the same time, there's people that want to get better that don't. And I've seen like that guy with the what was it? I can't remember his name. The $1 Million Voice. The guy with the $1 Million Voice. Y'all remember that?
No.
He was a radio broadcaster.
Yeah, and he yeah, he got into drugs and screwed a bunch of stuff up, and he ended up homeless, and then he got rediscovered, and yeah.
And then he ended up having some kind of big contract, and he was on the good, and then now he's back homeless again.
Yep. Not surprised.
You know, so yeah, there's issues like that. There's situations like that. But you know, it's really hard, you know, to.
Well, you know, if you're, I don't think it compares to the wildfire situation, because I mean, if what I can tell you how it was in Malibu after the 92 fire. I mean, there was a bunch of homeless people living on the Pepperdine basketball court because their place had burned down, and it wasn't their fault that their place had burned down. And all the rentals got snapped up like in the first 24 hours.
Hang on. I got to stop you right there. I'm sorry, but that's one thing that really aggravates me. It's not there. It's, you know, fires happen by accident sometimes, you know, somebody loses their house in a fire.
The one was this, I think that the wildfire was set on purpose by somebody, an arsonist, and the wind. I remember looking out from my rental in Malibu on Rambla Vista, or Rambla Pacifica, and I looked out at the ocean and I saw the white caps and go, oh, it's a windy day. I drove into work and I saw my place burn down on TV from work. You know, I mean, how that wasn't my fault, you know.
You're right. But here's the thing. There are things that you can do to prevent that happening. Anybody, and for damn sure I do it. And I'm implementing that program on my fire department. I'm a captain. I'm implementing that Firewise program on my department. If these people, you know, the community that I fire in is a very old community, and it's not like it's been there for a million years, but it's mostly just old people that live there. And you know, there's techniques you could do, just something as simple as keeping your grass cut low, overhanging branches trimmed away from your house, you know, things like that to firewise your house, fireproof it, can make a big difference. And as a firefighter, if I go through, you know, if I'm getting ready to do an urban interface fire, if there's a fire cresting the hill and I've got to get down there and start protecting properties, we're going to go house to house and see which ones can and cannot be saved.
Yeah, but I can tell you that the fire moved so fast in Malibu in the 92 fire. It was like a flamethrower because the winds were like, you know, 70 miles an hour. It's like, you don't have time. If you stop the fire truck and look at one house, 3 others will have burned down by the time you get done looking at it. And there's just
I understand that, but I'm talking months, weeks, years, days in advance. I mean, you know, just
what did I say that was wrong? What did I say that was wrong that caused you to say, stop you? I need to stop you right there. What did I say that was wrong?
I didn't say you were wrong. I just said, you know, that's something that is I didn't say you're wrong. It's just something that's not general knowledge, and it's not your fault. It's not, you know, anybody's fault, but I see it as the government's fault, the Forestry Service fault, or, you know, the county or the township or wherever, because they should be able to be like, hey, you know, there's programs out there. If you can't afford to firewise your property or your home, then apply for this. They will do it. Even if you can afford it and just don't want to pay for it, they will still do it. But people don't have the knowledge of this. That's one thing that aggravates me, is that people can do it if they had the knowledge of how to do it. You know,
have you seen California? I mean, just the way things are set up, like in Malibu and that area and Ventura County. It's like,
yes, I've not firsthand. I've seen pictures and stuff, but you know, there's a lot of variables to all that. I mean, a lot of it has to do with, you know, the choice of
the Santa Ana winds. Nobody can do anything about that. The wind is what it is.
Absolutely not.
And the brush is just, there's a huge buildup of brush all over the place, and it's not necessarily owned by anybody but the state. And the state doesn't have money to clear all the brush everywhere.
No, you're right. And that's what I'm saying. It's not your fault. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, as a government, that's what's failing us. More and more people are choosing every year to live out in the country. And 20 years ago, you'd see this huge wildfire go through and not one structure be burned up. Now you get more structures burn up in a house or in a wildland fire than you do timber. And it's because of the, people wanting to move out into the urban or the wildland part of it out in the country, but they don't know how to do things. And something as simple as keeping a 30-foot barrier, a 30-foot buffer zone around your house that is free of, leaf litter, stuff like that. And then another, 20-foot barrier outside for a total of 50-foot barrier of, very thinned out trees. And another thing that is that a lot of people are throwing a fit about, everybody made fun of Trump for going out and raking the forests. Well, that's a legitimate thing. People don't understand that they do that. We have rakes, shovels, hoes, Pulaskis, axes, any kind of hand tool, garden tool that you would find at Walmart. We have those on our fire trucks. For that, we have to get rid of the fuel. We have to pull the fuel away from the fire line so that there's nothing to burn. But another thing that's causing these fires to become so much bigger every year is that they are not burned off regularly.
Well, the people in the pictures that I shared weren't displaced by wildfires.
Right.
The point I wanted to make was that right after a wildfire, all those displaced families they're all wealthy. They have lots of money, but all the rentals in Malibu, they got snapped up like almost instantaneously. And you look in the paper, everything that was in the paper, you could call every advertisement, and they go, "Oh, sorry, it's already rented," because they were all taken up. And so nobody in Malibu was willing to live in the valley. They weren't going to move, so they would rather families with kids sleep on the Pepperdine basketball court than live in the valley.
Yeah.
As somebody who
interesting side note, you and I have something else in common now. We were both in a wildfire in Southern California in 1992.
Oh wow!
My place burned down completely. I made the lead of the Channel 4 news, no, Channel 2 news, evening news. Well, they had me walking across what was left of my apartment.
I might have seen that on the TV in the barracks. I don't know. We were training out in Camp Pendleton, and we had a wildfire chase us. That was something. So, yeah, we were both in California at the same time dealing with wildfire.
Yeah, I tried to drive right back into Malibu, but it was obviously impossible. I tried every sneaky road through the Beverly Hills down to the PCH, but everything was blocked in the end, and I just had to do something else. But eventually, when the roads opened, I went back, and all that was left was ashes and the L frame from my the iron frame from my Soloflex machine. Everything else was just burned. It was literally ashes. And then I went to there was basically the Red Cross was basically set up a place for everybody that lost their homes in a church on a Canaan Dune Road. I forget the denomination of the church, but I remember going there, and I think I've described before everything that happened. And with my when I was saying, because they would give you vouchers for everything, and what I had said in a previous chat was, was that the guy who was running the churches, they gave me a voucher for like a hotel for a few days, and eventually they gave you a voucher for first and last month's rent but even that, still there wasn't anything available. But a real estate person found me a place. Anyway, long story short, I mean that was when the person at the church who was running the Red Cross saying, "Is there anything else you need a voucher for or anything?" I was like, because they give you a voucher for clothes and a place to stay and stuff, and I said, well, I guess I could use a microwave, and that was funny. I said, then he looked at me like, we don't give out vouchers for microwaves, and me not at the time, well, I was like 22 or something. I basically had said, how am I supposed to live without a microwave? And because I didn't know anything about prepping or I mean, I literally cooked everything with a microwave back then. So, but obviously people have lived for thousands of years without microwaves. But that was before I became a prepper and everything. That was when I was living in Malibu and running a studio in Burbank. And those days are long gone. But everything was completely burned down. There wasn't anything left. It was like my street looked like London after the Blitz that had been hit by, a bunch of 1,000-pound bombs. It was literally, the street was burned down completely, like everything. It was just ashes. And like there was a lady who had just bought a house like right next to the apartments complex I was staying in. A lady had just closed escrow on a house and moved in like a week before the whole fucking thing burned down. And she was just so devastated. I mean, she had insurance that paid to rebuild it, but she was just so devastated because she just moved into her dream house in Malibu, and it had to be like $3 million at least. And that was before the real estate bubble, and it just all burned down, all of her stuff and everything. Yeah, I understand. I lost, stuff. I mean, I got money from the state, but it's like from because Clinton declared it a federal disaster zone. But it's not the money or the insurance. It's just that you lost like important things that you didn't want to lose, family heirlooms and stuff like that. There was another thing I wanted to talk about. Something else I lost in the fire. All my books from college. And we had talked about books on last week's show. And what I found interesting is that when the Visigoths sacked Rome, one problem that they had, King Alaric, basically his troops wanted to loot and sack Rome because there was a lot of stuff that they could steal, gold, whatever. And one of the things that they stole were books. Books were a form of wealth. And if the grid goes down, if there's an EMP, books will be wealth again. If there's no internet, you can't look stuff up on the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, no YouTube, no the EMP. There's no. People are gonna want books to read, and books are a store of wealth. I mean, and that was one thing they carted off. The Visigoths carted off from Rome. I mean, they can only steal. The problem the Visigoths has is they can only steal however much they could carry because the Roman army in the center of Rome at that point was weak, and Alaric, had a little bit said, okay, his troops could loot Rome. It's like because that's what his troops wanted to do, and if you're running an army, you need to keep your army happy. So they wanted all the stuff that they could steal in Rome, but they could only steal whatever they could carry. They couldn't steal more than they could carry. So books were one of the things they stole. And so, I've been ordering a lot of books off of Amazon lately, I got to say. I mean, but what I lost in the fire was all of my books from college. That was like a really bad loss for me.
That's probably, one of those books was probably like $800 anyway.
Well, when I was in college, I had my student ID card, and I always bought used books for the stuff for the courses, and so it was like I bought the cheapest version of what it was I had to read, but it was a lot of books, and there were some things that personal family heirlooms I didn't want to lose, but the state cut me a check. I mean, if all they counted was money, but. It's losing everything in a fire. That was something. I mean, like you lose all your clothes. Because like I had the clothes on my back, and that was pretty much it. And
you had what you had on.
Yeah, and
what you had in the car, and what you had in your pockets is pretty much all you had.
And I had a business in Burbank. Lucky me. So because I just lost all my personal stuff, which was a lot of stuff that I didn't want to lose, but. I just want to say that one thing that will be of value if the grid goes down and there's an EMP or something is books, and it is a form of wealth, and it was back then. And so I just thought that was interesting that the Visigoths, one of the things they thought worth carrying off, it wasn't just gold or things like that or plates or jewelry. It was books. Were considered a very valuable form of wealth. And I thought that's interesting, considering how everything is like on a smartphone or something today. But anyway, I don't know. Your kids still, Swift, do your kids actually read books now, or is it all online stuff when they're, as far as schoolwork goes?
They still have school books. The older one can read, but he really doesn't like to. The younger one asked me to order him books off of Amazon because he enjoys reading certain topics. Other things he'll do it only if he has to. They do so much on their phones and tablets and computers and their video game consoles and stuff like that. And the schools encourage some of that on the they can send them their schoolwork on the computer at home, and they can access certain sites that let them do projects and stuff like that. But they still have textbooks. Their backpacks are heavy, really heavy.
I remember, that was one thing I remember about UCLA, and as an undergraduate, is that the reading load, not the first year, but like maybe the second or third year, some of the more advanced introduction classes, and there was a really big reading load of stuff, and you had to read a lot. I mean, and it was like, you had to like literally read all day to just to keep up with what they wanted you to read for the professor would cover in his speeches. So it would be like, yeah, some people like to read for fun, but this was like, okay, you have to read like 10 books a week, big, thick books, lots of not easy stuff. It wasn't all fun to read, but it was like, you got to the point where you were just, it was like an assignment. It was like an obstacle course. You have to get through it. The thing that I would tell anybody to try and help their kids is that if they get to college and they're going to go through a 4-year college, don't go to college for enlightenment or knowledge. You might get some by osmosis accidentally, but you probably won't. It's an obstacle course. It's like basic training. You have to get through it, and that's it. And then get your degree and get a job, or as long as it's not in basket, you don't have your degree in basket weaving. There are some degrees which you can get work still, but a lot of them, they aren't that way, aren't going to be any of good as far as, so if people, that's the problem people are having, it's a huge problem with the economy, is trillions of dollars of college debt for people that have useless degrees as far as it won't help them get a job.
They're young and idealistic, and they think they can go to school for something that they enjoy or something they're interested in, and they don't understand that does not necessarily translate to a living, or that field is booked up. They just don't understand. I'm going to school for marine biology. Oh, great. Woods Hole Institute is hiring hundreds of people this year. No, they're not.
If your kids are good at math and which is uncommon nowadays, but if you have a good tutor as you're bringing them up, maybe there's work for engineering. There's work for computer science. If they're into computers, and they actually have degrees in computer gaming where you can get a job because computer gaming is huge, a huge industry. So there are degrees but it's like there are degrees that you aren't going to get work with.
What you do? You get the college degree or degrees that get you the job that has good pay and good benefits, and then you use that pay and your time off to do the things that you enjoy when you're not at work. You might go to work and do a job that you don't really like, or it's really not, but you're making money, and you're taken care of when you're not at work. Your family's taken care of. You can provide, and you can just, one of the biggest obstacles of doing the things that you like to do is money. The next biggest obstacle is time, So if all the bills are paid and you got money left over, there you go. The American dream is to get paid to do what you love, yes, but very few people live that dream.
Yes, it's it's almost impossible to get paid to do what you love. But if you're gonna, if you can, that's an ideal situation. I mean, I worked in a field that I love, but I'd hated what I was doing. But I did it for the money, and you can make fun of that. A lot of kids go to college, including me. I was searching for enlightenment, and that's okay, but that's not. I mean, you'll be disappointed. The professors there aren't there. They're there because it's a job, and they're not there to enlighten you, and they don't like teaching undergraduate classes at all. Okay, they don't want to talk to you. They don't want to know you. They wish they weren't there, but they need the money, and they're going to do whatever they have to do for their tenureship, or so they can. It's like the academic ivory towers work on their own. It's like their own little world that has nothing to do with real life for real people that we have to make our way through like the real world somehow. And you aren't going to learn much in there. I mean, if you can go and study history, I mean, that would be awesome. I mean, if you can study English literature, that's great. I mean, you'll learn a lot. I mean, you have to, it's an obstacle course and you have to get through it. It's not, the professors aren't there to give you enlightenment. They're there to get paid. And so if you're going to send your kids to college, just tell them it's an obstacle course that you have to get through. It's like, think of it like an obstacle course and get through it as quick as you can and then get on with your life because you don't want to be in college forever. I mean, so it's forget about the fucking frat parties and all that shit on all that stupid other shit that happens in college. But anyway, somehow I got off track because we started talking about books. All right, forget the books. Let's move on to something else. Beer. Right, you're gonna like this one. Dusty.
That sounds like a good idea, man.
All right. Let me punch up the beer thing that I found. Where is it? Beer. Yeah, here it is. Screen share button. Here we go. So I saw this in America's First Freedom magazine, so I punched up the website. Guncraft beer. Red IPA, M4 Amber Ale, FAL Belgian style black ale. Tactical Pale Ale. So this is a company called the website is guncraftbeer.com. I muted this page because it had some music or ad that comes up, and so I just hit the mute button so I could just show the beers and go to the gallery page. It had some cool glasses in here. Take a minute to load this. I think these are pour levers for spouts that look these rifle things, but I think this is made in Illinois, believe it or not, considering how unfriendly they are to the Second Amendment over there.
They can only have beer that with gun labels on them, but not real guns.
Well, hopefully it's real beer. I don't know, but I saw this in the America's First Freedom magazine.
Probably need a FOID card to buy it.
Well, I think it's worth a try if you can get it. It's worth a try. It looks cool. I like the artwork on the glasses and cans. Guncraft beer. Let's see, where's the home page? Yeah, this thing comes on. Yeah, this is making me thirsty. Guncraft beer.
Do they have like a PPK Pilsner?
No, I think you're looking at what they've got. Second Amendment Red IPA, M4 Amber Ale, FAL Belgian style black beer, and Guncraft Tactical American Pale Ale. So you're looking at it, what you see right here. You can buy it online. I'm not going to pay to have this shipped to Hawaii, but if I see it locally, I'll buy it. Hell, I'll even drink it through a straw to piss off the lefties. Make a video drinking it through a straw, and I won't recycle
a straw that has been known to cause cancer, but only in California.
They're banning all plastic stuff, and they have a bill to ban plastic, styrofoam lunch, food boxes, plastic cups, plastic forks, plastic spoons, plastic cups, plastic everything. All the businesses are going to have to use like biodegradable things that are like cups that are made out of rice or something. Like I said, they're going to have to pry my straws out of my cold, dead hands. Excuse me. Where's my straws? Yeah, they're going to have to pry these straws out of my cold, dead hands. So good luck. You'll never get them. You're going to need a tactical team with tactical beer to get my straws away. All right. I'll take a quick look into the external, see if anybody's out there tonight. Or on the gun channel side. Roosted Films. Couldn't think of a better place to fall off the mount. Excuse me. Quick, I need a shot of whiskey. Whiskey, quick. All right, time to switch to the real stuff. I like this. This is good to clear your throat. Tullamore Dew. D.E. Williams, provider. Yeah. That'll kill you, Curia. All right. What else did we talk about in the pre-chat, Oklahoma? I think we put Oklahoma, he probably went out to deal with his dog or kill the possums or deer.
I had it on mute for a minute and I couldn't, it wouldn't unmute for me. See, we talked about a lot of things. We talked about, let's see, the main thing we talked about really was the whole gun thing here in the state, here in Oklahoma. Back to that real quick. I think I can't tell you if I'm happy or I haven't decided if I'm happy about it or kind of disappointed because now effective November 1st, anybody that has a gun that does not have a felony or any kind of charges that would disqualify them for carrying a gun in public can now carry a gun in public without a permit. And like I said before, the only thing that I kind of disagree with is that, they have no training. And one thing that I couldn't understand is, anyone over 21 with no prior criminal record, any physical criminal or any felonies, can carry a gun. Those over 18 with qualifying military background can carry a gun. That's one thing that I couldn't kind of understand. I mean, the state looks at you at 18 years old and says, well, you're an adult now. Or you're still, you have 3 years that you're going to be treated like a child. You can't, there are certain things you can do it.
There's 3 years where you're going to be treated like a felon is what it is. I mean,
yeah.
If you're old enough to join the military and like be in charge of a mortar, how come you can't carry a pistol? I mean,
right. But at the same time, where I'm from, everybody has guns.
Yeah.
Everybody, it really doesn't make a difference. I mean, you're not going to get stopped and you're not going to get questioned, you know, as you would in a bigger city as to why you're carrying your gun, you know. And I think it's just going to lead to more issues, un-gun related, because now you're going to have people, because if you're openly carrying your firearm, then the police have every right to stop and question you and run your information.
I don't have to. They can question me, but I don't have to answer them. You know, I have a right to.
I mean,
not talk to them at all.
Right, but then that's when, you know,
they can't
fail to identify them. Then that's
well, yeah, I can show them my ID, but I don't have to talk to them.
But you know, I just think it's just going to be another round of people complaining about police harassment.
Well, I can tell you that personally, the reason I like to carry when I was in Arizona, I like to carry it was a firearm. It was a symbol of freedom.
Right.
Truly, that was the main reason I wanted to carry when I was in Arizona. I wasn't afraid of anything. I had no reason that I thought I would actually need a weapon, but it was a symbol of freedom. Truly, that's why I wanted to carry when I was in Arizona. And I did. And it wasn't a problem. I didn't need a permit.
And you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an American. Agree with that. I mean, and I don't think there's anything wrong with if somebody would ask me, I could tell them it's a symbol of freedom. It always has been. That's why I carry it.
I mean, it's just, I just don't understand,
and, you know. And if that's not good enough for somebody, that's too bad.
Another thing we talked about was when you first brought up that picture of the bow and arrow and the slingshot, you know, that little drawing.
Billy Barron's cartoon, right?
Yeah. You know, it's another thing we talked about. The state actually treats crossbows, and I do the same thing. You know, I practice gun safety not just with guns, but also crossbows. You know, they treat it the same. You know, if you transport your crossbow, it cannot be cocked, and it has to be the cable has to be in a resting position, not cocked, and your bolts have to be away from the crossbow. Just like, you know, if you're transporting a firearm, you'd have to keep your ammunition away from the firearm in a separate area so that you can't, you know, put them together.
So does all that go away with the open with the carry, constitutional carry? But now, because I mean, they can't tell you how to carry. You know, if you can't carry with a loaded magazine, I mean,
I'm not really sure, because
one in the chamber.
That is a gray area, because you're legally, your vehicle is your property, and I've heard cops say that you can do whatever you want in your vehicle, as long as it's, you know, of course, not going around shooting people, you know, stuff like that. You know, as far as guns, you know, they don't really care, because you are inside your property. Your vehicle is your property, and you're inside your vehicle. You can, you know, carry your gun loaded. And I've heard other people say, you know, you cannot do it legally. You cannot do it. So it's 50-50. One says legally you can, and one says legally you can't.
I mean, the worst person to ask for legal advice on is from a police officer, because most of the times they just really don't know the laws that they're enforcing.
Right.
And a lot of them don't. I'm not saying all of them don't. I'm saying a lot of them don't.
You're right. I mean, where I'm from, the requirements for you to be able to be a police officer is, do you have a pulse and can you breathe? And if you answer yes to those two questions, then you're a police officer. In some cities like Tulsa, you have to have a degree. You have to have they prefer criminal justice, but it doesn't specify. You know, you can have a degree in fine arts and you're qualified,
you know,
to be a police officer.
Here's the thing about degrees. Like, there was a teacher by the pool the other day, and he said his wife was a nurse here, and he had a job as a teacher. He was a science teacher in like an elementary school or junior high school or something, and he said he got more money because he had a PhD or something like that. and so he got a higher pay than your average teacher. I was like, okay, but really, everything that I learned that was really valuable, I didn't learn in college. Everything that I learned that was valuable, I learned on the street.
Agreed.
It's like they have a lot. They teach a lot of knowledge that doesn't matter. If you get a degree in criminal science, I could see how that would be useful to help you get a job, but it wouldn't necessarily be useful in doing that job.
Right.
It's like if you were a cop for 20 years on the street, you'd be a better cop than some kid who got out of college and had a degree in criminal science, but your pay might be less than the kid who just got out and got a job based with his degree. And so It's just what you learn in college
is not necessarily effective.
It doesn't have anything to do with reality.
There's a difference between book smarts and common sense, and I think common sense has a bigger thing to do with anything than a college degree. I mean, yeah, there's things that that college is required for that. For example, I wouldn't want a doctor operating on me that has a degree in fine arts or criminal justice. I'd want a doctor that has a degree in medical science.
I wanted a doctor who had done the same fucking procedure a couple thousand times before he got to me that he was going to do on me. But the thing that you can get from college, aside from a degree that can help you get a job, you will get a lot of because of the workload, you will get a lot of work in just absorbing knowledge from books. I mean, like you'll become a very good reader if you have to go to college, depending on what. I mean, if you're going to study mathematics, get a mathematics degree, you're going to be really good at mathematics. And by the time, I tried to take a calculus course at UCLA, but it was hopeless. Okay, I had to drop it. I mean, but the guys on the UCLA, there was like the North Campus, like English Lit people like me, and there was the South Campus engineering mathematics people who literally walked around with two huge calculators in holsters like guns in their literally.
Uh-huh.
I mean, literally. And if a professor put up some kind of mathematical problem up on a chalkboard, then they could whip out two calculators and figure it out. And that just wasn't me. I was more of the English Lit kind. But it's like they all wore blue shirts and it was like they had calculators it was literally like gun holsters, and They were ready to whip them out at a moment's notice. And so there's a lot of things that you can get good at going to college, whether it's reading comprehension, power reading, mathematics, but practical things that actually are applicable in real life.
That can't be taught in school.
That
you cannot learn common sense in school.
Mm-hmm. You will probably get. That's probably you'll just be really confused as far as common sense. They will teach you everything wrong as far as that goes.
Right. Now as far as like, for example, I'm taking OSU classes. I'm currently an OSU student in fire service, and a lot of the things, there's a lot of common sense in fire. I mean, there's a lot of common sense in fire, but a lot of things you wouldn't think about. Like you've got to know certain things about fire weather, for example. There's formulas to determine 1 hour dead fuel moisture. If all you have is relative humidity, then all you got to do is figure out the formula for your 1 hour dead fuel moisture, and it's going to determine whether or not that fire is going to be rapidly moving or not. So there are some things where you have to have certain things for. For example, you got to know once pagers go off, you got to know what the weather is doing, and you got to know the temperature, humidity, and pressure, and a lot of stuff, because that's going to determine what the fire is going to do here in the next couple of hours. So, but a lot of stuff. I mean, I just don't understand why there's even a college course on some of the stuff that's out there, because it's like, what is that actually going to do? Like, what good is that going to do for you? You're not going to be able to get a job in anything like this, so why are you doing this? But like, a lot of that stuff is
it sounds
glorified common sense.
It sounds to me like why somebody would want a degree like that is if they were planning on going into government, and then they'd have a qualification to be put in charge of emergency services and running it like for like a state or some kind of government position where they have to know all this shit. And it's literally the government values that kind of thing because the government doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, so they think it actually matters. But that's why they teach it for government employees.
Right. But a lot of those things, for example, you made a good point to determine what you're going to need, for government high ups to pretty much run an incident. Well, you can get online and go to the FEMA.gov and take their incident management systems courses, and anybody can do it, and then you're qualified. I've done it. I've taken 3 of them. I've taken them several times. I've done them. I've helped out other firefighters to do them. But a lot of people don't understand that it's not one person. If I'm an incident commander on a huge fire, and just because I'm the incident commander doesn't mean I'm the one that calls and tells people to get this over here, get that over here, send this crew to another place. That's where incident management system comes in, where each individual person up to like 10 people have their own certain jobs. Like, I'm there to command everything overall. But for example, my emergency management director, he's there to get me, water and food and stuff if my firefighters need it. And then I have other people. I have like my public information officer that they're going to answer news questions. They're going to go on the news and do stuff like that. And then I've got my communications officer. They're going to go out there and work the radios. And it's just like everybody has their own place, but it's not necessarily something that has to be done, with a college degree. In fact, it's not college time at all. It's just, it's a class.
I think it's that for people with political aspirations, if you want to become a governor or something, and maybe you think, okay, I'll start out working for the government in some capacity before I go run for politics. So maybe I can get a position in like a state agency that works with, in some state agency, and your qualification is what you're doing because you have this stupid degree, and the people in the government think that, it's a requirement that's listed by the government agency for some position, and then after you serve in this agency, you can say, oh, I did this position, so now I want to be, in some, like, I want to run for assistant governor or deputy governor or lieutenant or some other stupid political position where you get paid for just showing up and voting on things. And it's just how the government doesn't actually produce anything. So when we pay our tax to the government, they don't produce GDP. They don't create any wealth. They can print money, but which is how they teach.
So can I.
Well, let's not get into Bitcoin or gold or silver. Silver has been, I think the cryptos took a crash today, and so did silver. But it's all being manipulated. it's like fake news. I mean, nothing. This is like the frog. There's a couple things we talked about in the pre-chat. The thing with the frog.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's this story. People want to know, how do we know when the shit hit the fan, right? So the story is about the two frogs. So if you have a frog and you throw the frog into never mind about the specific about how to cook a frog, okay? But you throw a frog into a hot, scalding, boiling pot of water, and the frog is going to hop out and run away or hop away and try and get up because it's boiling hot. But if you throw the second frog into a cold pot of water, it's going to feel okay. And then if you slowly turn up the heat and it doesn't realize that it's getting, it'll just feel like, oh, it's getting a little more comfortable. And then it won't realize until it's too late that the water is boiling. So same thing applies when the shit hits the fan. You won't know because, like, especially with the economy, they're playing little games and doing little manipulations, and you don't know that you're in a water pot of boiling water. It's getting hotter. It's reaching the boiling point where you won't be able to survive until it's too late. So which frog are you? Which pot are you in? And as far as knowing when the shit has hit the fan, and the rules change. So, yeah, we talked about bugging out and stuff, but the whole thing is, if you're going to know, how do you know when the shit has hit the fan? If somebody throws you into a boiling pot of hot water, you'll know it and you'll try and get away. But that's not how the world works. They manipulate and manipulate, and the water getting hotter and hotter and hotter in a million different imperceptible ways that you don't perceive. So we talked about that, and then we talked about, how do we know when to bug out if the shit has hit the fan? And there's lots of things that you can look for, but think about the story of the two frogs and keep that in mind. Let's see. I'm trying to remember everything that we talked about in the pre-chat. Let's see. We did the knife thing. I showed my. No, it's over there somewhere now. I don't know. Never mind.
I did something today based on something you said last week.
Oh, really? Did you get arrested or anything?
I bought an American Eagle.
Oh, a silver one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because how high was the premium on it over spot?
No, it was normal prices, about $26. It was still in stock, and I said
$26 for one Silver Eagle?
Yeah, so I just said I might as well just snatch it up now because I figured, it was probably one that was still in stock at the dealer, right? And if they're not making them, then later in the year I might have trouble getting one.
Well, you're having problems right now. If you have to pay $26 and silver's $16, it went down to like $15. It was, I think, for a moment it was below $15 announced today. Obviously, the Silver Eagle is the most sought after, recognized silver coin around the world, and it has the advantage of also being U.S. currency. So technically, they aren't supposed to be able to tax you for selling your currency, and they shouldn't be able to confiscate the Silver Eagles, even if they decide to confiscate silver as a strategic metal. They could confiscate currency. But the silver. But that's the whole thing. J.P. Morgan, somebody that worked for J.P. Morgan, was like convicted of manipulating the price of silver, spoofing. I mean, and he admitted in court that J.P. Morgan, he was doing it as an employee of J.P. Morgan, and J.P. Morgan taught him how to do it, and he was doing what he was paid for by J.P. Morgan. But nobody in J.P. Morgan is. They're still doing the same exact things. Somebody else took his job, and he may have some jail time, but the people that hired him and told him to do it, they're still there manipulating the price of silver. And the reason they're doing that is because the government is the U.S. Mint is manipulating the price of silver. They've obviously run out. The Mint has stopped producing 18 and 19 Silver Eagles. So I imagine that's why the spot price was so high. I mean, I don't think I'd pay $26 if the spot price was 15 for an ounce of silver. I mean, Silver Eagles are the best.
I bought it on Amazon. I didn't go to one like SP Bullion or AP Mex or something.
I never buy anything off Amazon for or eBay for silver because I just don't trust it. I need to go myself. It has to be from a dealer that I would trust, that checks the silver before they or guts it straight from the mint. Because I just don't trust eBay or Amazon sellers. I mean, there's fake silver out there. There's, so I always use like the online sellers that I trust myself. I'm gonna buy some. Haven't bought any in a while, but yeah, I use like JM Bullion or Provident or SD Bullion, all those companies like that. But I just don't trust Amazon or.
I use them too, but I don't use them when I'm buying one coin.
Well, one fake coin could ruin your day, but okay. Silver is a pretty good investment, I think, but time will tell if the manipulation ever stops. Why couldn't I find the knife? Because I was holding it in my hand. Actually, I was looking all over for it, so I couldn't find it. So yeah, this is we're talking about the Wraith knife that I was going to get. So this is the camping knife that I have with the Cryptek sheath from Dawson Knives in Prescott, Arizona. And it's got the G10 handles and Sandviper Cerakote. Let's see if I can make this. There we go. Using my angled flashlight. I found a LED for it bulb, but it's like I haven't bought it yet off of Amazon. It's like $15 for a bulb. You could actually get a flashlight and a bulb for $15. But it basically the incandescent bulb is like 20 lumens and the LED is 74. So it's like, I don't know, it's an exponential improvement, but I'll buy a couple of LEDs. But so this is a pretty good camping knife. It's really got a really thick spine. It's full tang and G10 and this is like a really awesome blade. I had seen Dawson Knives. They had a video. They have a YouTube channel, and they did a video where basically they stuck their knife in a tree and then climbed up on the tree and jumped up and down on the knife and then took it out, and the knife was still true, which is a pretty hard trick. So I figured they got their tempering and quenching right. And I really wish I could have visited them when I was in Prescott, but the schedule was busy, and I think I spent most of my time at I never made it out of the Whiskey Row pub. But next time I go to Prescott, I'm definitely going to try and visit their forge. They're online, Dawson Knives. They make great stuff, and they had the Wraith knife that it was just, I'm not spending that kind of money right now on a knife, but it looked really cool. I'll show it again in case anybody tuned in late. Find it. Starting to get dark in Hawaii. Oh, I see just Dano out there. I'm going to try and find the Wraith knife. Do my little window routine. Okay, we did the Guncraft beer. Here's the Dawson knife. Yeah. Let's show this knife. Here we go. Screen share button. And bing. It's on sale, but it's still freaking expensive. Hit the present to all. Present to everyone. Yeah, so it's an expensive knife, as you can see, but 80 chromium V2 steel Tanto blade. It just looks fucking awesome. It reminded me of a knife that my Rogue had in World of Warcraft when I used to play that game online. And it's just an awesome looking knife. And so that's Cerakote camo on there. And so I didn't want to spend this much money on a blade, but I somehow wound up and basically Birdshot Ford did a video on some they had on 3 Dawson knives that they got, and they had a Wakizashi that I didn't know that Dawson made Wakizashis, but it was like an $800 Wakizashi. So I definitely wasn't going to spend that much, but if I wanted a Wakizashi, it looked awesome. And they had a couple other Dawson knives there, which looked nice. But this is the one that I remembered was on my dream list. If money was no object. I mean, the camping knife cost almost about that much too. But the camping knife is a different style. It's not a Tonto. I'm happy with my camping knife, but the knives I usually carry on an EDC basis are my Spyderco Paramilitary 2, my Fox Knives Emerson Wave Karambit folder, and I have a fixed blade Karambit by Fox Knives too. So that's 1 fixed blade and 2 folders, and I would describe the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 as a pretty much all-around general purpose knife that can do anything great. And the Karambits are fighting knives. So, like never enough blades, I guess. But this was a cool knife, and I'd say if money was no object, it'd be on my list. But for right now, I'll just dream about this knife. I don't think I'm gonna buy it yet. It looks cool. It's on sale, but it's made in America in Arizona. So don't buy the last one before I do. Why am I showing this knife? I shouldn't show it to anybody then. All right. That one. Oh, we lost Oklahoma. He probably might come back in a little bit, because sometimes our after chats and our pre-chats are better than the show. But I'll say hi to Dano up there. I'm gonna see real quickly if he's typing anything, because I was all into the show here. I got a couple more things to. Got an airhead alert about Ocasio-Cortez. Thought that was pretty funny. Let me see. We have Roosted Films out there. Just Dano Essie are about $18 now. Silver Eagles are about $18. So silver, yeah. Well, you know, I hope it's a very good condition coin for Squib, and it's hard to go wrong with Silver Eagles. I mean, usually that's a pretty high premium. Premiums are going up, I think, because of the Mint stopped making them.
It's probably just because I bought it on Amazon.
Yeah.
I've never had a problem buying any coins on Amazon. I don't buy a lot of coins on Amazon. When I want to buy a lot of coins, I'll go to a site that I've got an account with. Like I'm looking at the JM Bullion site right now. And yeah, they're cheaper on that. But I typically don't buy one coin when they've got things where you got to spend so much to get free shipping or whatever it is, where they've got all kinds of different coins that sometimes you're not going to find them looking around on Amazon. So you just said that they weren't making them anymore.
They weren't.
And I said, all right, maybe I'll snag one of these. I didn't go looking around. I just bought it, done.
Yeah, that's the beauty of Amazon. It's a store without a storefront.
If there's SHTF and she's got a safe full of silver and copper coins, and it's something that we can barter with, yay, great, wonderful. And, if that's what she says, well, what else are we gonna do with this crap? The world's ending. So, but it's otherwise, so it's whatever it is.
Well, I just love watching the videos that try and figure out what silver is, what the fair price of silver is going to be when the manipulation stops. But I mean, for the manipulation to stop, the banking system has to just shut down. So you were going to have bigger things to worry about than the price of silver if that happens. Basically, what I think I said last week also was that what Selko had put in his book is that precious metals, you can trade them for important things, but you won't get a good exchange rate during the shit hits the fan. It's after the grid comes back up. So basically what you want to be doing is having lots of things that people need and trading it for precious metals, bartering it, if you can do that safely, which we talked about. So another thing we talked about in the pre-chat was, how do you barter in the shit hits the fan? Because it's dangerous. You have to have somebody watching your back. You can't just assume that it's going to be safe, and you can't bring all your stuff. You have to just bring a little bit at a time. And so bartering will be a dangerous thing. But if basically in the Balkans, how they made money, people made money that got rich, that were rich after the grid came back up, was they sold things that people needed for like I think Selko said he paid for 2 cans of food. He traded like a gold chain, which is like ridiculous. So 1 ounce of gold chain, it should be worth a lot more than 2 cans of food in a normal grid up situation. But he wanted the food. The guy had the food, and it was just that was the trade. And so people that did that and could do that frequently made out well. And then when the grid came back up, they could get a fair price based on fair price. They could get what the going rate was on the spot market instead of just what the going rate was because people were starving and needed a can of food. So I think it would be useful if you had a device to. I mean, that's another thing that's on my wish list is one of those electronic devices for electrically testing silver. I mean, the only way I have to test a silver coin now is by weighing it and seeing if it weighs the right amount and it's not a slug covered with silver. And that's the best, besides just looking at the coin with a magnifier for things that look wrong. Weight is a good way to check if you have a digital scale. You could look up on the internet and see how much a fake coin weighs and a real coin is supposed to weigh. So yeah, one of those electronic devices that they sell is on my wish list, but there's a lot of things on my wish list that I haven't. I've been trying lately just not to spend money. But it doesn't hurt to look at a cool, fun knife. But I think I got into the Dawson knives today because of Birdshot's video. Birdshot 4, Roman numeral, I think, or was it Birdshot 5? I forget. But you could check out that channel, and if you want to see Dawson Wakizashi and a couple of camping style blades, I think, from Dawson knives. The Wakizashi looked awesome, but they didn't demo it out or they didn't like chop anything with it in the video. It was just showing it off, but it was an awesome looking blade. Because I know the craftsmanship that they put into their knives it's not like the $80 samurai sword that I got off of Bud K. I mean, the sword I have will do the job, but it's it's only for a limited time. I don't think it'll last as long as that Wakizashi will. If it was going to be used in zombie apocalypse, where you had to chop off 100 zombie heads or something, it would probably that blade would last longer than mine. But at which point I'm gonna have to go back to guns, which is cool. Let's just hope there's not a zombie apocalypse. All right. Oklahoma hasn't made it back, so I'm going to assume that either his dog is fighting a deer or something, or his internet went down, which is probably more likely. let's see. I'll check the externals, and I don't think I check the gun channel sides at the show start, because there usually isn't too much happening on the gun channel side. But oh, Jonathan Fair is there. Type aloha on that one. The gun channel side, and I'll go check the externals really quick. All right. Well, I don't have a lot to add. Silver has been manipulated down a lot. I think it went down like $1 in the last day or so. And it just looks like manipulation. The cryptos look like they're being manipulated also. So whatever, doesn't matter for me. I get my crypto mining payouts from Genesis every day. It's like, whatever the total value of it is, it's like they get usually the same amount of Dash once a day, and Ethereum once a month from that mining contract, which is nearing its conclusion. It is what it is. The world economy is shaking, rattling, and rolling, and there's some countries that have some problems. The U.S. is still holding it together more or less. Canada's real estate, I think Canada has having some issues. Italy's having some issues, and there's some Italian banks having some issues. So just do what you can with what you got. Don't enjoy the grid. It's up. Enjoy life. We live in a peaceful society. We have the rule of law. The banks are still open. The currency still works barely. And you can still buy stuff off Amazon and have your preps delivered to your door, which is awesome. I just think that the problems we have are that government jobs, a lot of people work for the government, and there's a lot of just serious problems with debt out there, and retirement, unfunded pension liabilities for government employees. And it seems like there's more and more government employees lately, and that you run into. And if there's a problem with some of the state debt issues like Illinois or California, it's going to be some kind of cascading bond default from hell. So there's economic stuff you have to be, aware of, so that, like, yeah, the silver mint stopped making silver eagles. That's like news, because they're legally supposed to make silver eagles. They're supposed to meet the demand by law, and they're not. They just shut down, and I don't buy their reasons. The U.S. Mint is J.P. Morgan's client, and they're the reason that J.P. Morgan is manipulating the price of silver. So it's the government that's doing this. All right, but that being said, I already have a huge supply, at least the way I look at it. Is 300 ounces is a lot of silver, and I don't need to panic buy more. So I'm not going to. Besides, hey, they may put the silver price down to $1 an ounce. They could do that on a computer, because they're not trading silver. They're trading electronic blips that are a representation of silver. And at which point I would hazard a guess that it would probably be a $20 premium to actually get a physical delivery from anyone. People aren't going to sell their silver for $1, even if that's what the spot price is, because it's if it isn't obvious to everyone now, then they just aren't paying attention that these are fake prices. But it is what it is. We can't control these things. It's controlled by very powerful institutions like the U.S. Mint and J.P. Morgan, and until that changes, I'll just hang on to my silver and my gold and my ammo and my freedom and my guns and my straws. They're gonna have to pry the fucking straws out of my cold dead hands, and good luck. All right. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Give us a thumbs up. God bless America. We've been broadcasting on the interwebs on gunchannels.com. And thanks everybody for tuning in to the Lock and Load Show. We'll see you next week. Y'all be cool. If I could find my phone, I'd play the chopper sound. So get to the chopper.